better get this show on the road here. Just trying to control my Labrador there, who was molesting the mic. Aye. Hello and welcome into this Thursday's entertainment news. I am a bespectacled Jonathan here to discuss. I was about to say the latest happenings in the world of Hollywood, but I think this may be a couple of days old by now. It's not quite got a full release yet. Killers of the Flower Moon. I looked at the initial sort of screening times in the one or two cinemas, theatres, exhibitors, whichever adjective you want to use, dotted around my city, are showing the film just now. Everyman Cinema, one I want to go to. You get food ordered to your seat, like at an American football stadium or something. But I've not been yet. I would like to go and see it there. But in the main, not a wide release, this film yet. So I thought, fuck it. Why not discuss some of the early response to reviews for this film as of the 19th of October 2023. I think as we get closer to the weekend, it will have a much wider release. And at that point, I will perhaps be able to go in and watch it. This is something I will get into though. Is this a film that I even want to go and watch in a theatre? Right off the bat, I looked at the running time. It's well north of 3 hours, man. I mean, I know we've been conditioned into going and seeing 3 hour movies over the course of the last 10 years, the likes of, off the top of my head, James Cameron's Avatar 2, The Way of Water, It Chapter 2. There's been some very long films. I think maybe Endgame was knocking around the 2 or 40 odd minute mark, albeit that was a huge, big bombastic sort of action movie. The end of 10 years of storytelling in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so that was a completely different beast entirely. But 3.5 hours, we're starting to get into Das Boot territory with a film like that now. There's probably one man in cinema just now who could probably attract me into a theatre for 3.5 hours, and it probably would be Martin Scorsese. With that cast, I just cannot believe the cast he's assembled for this movie. And we've got Robert De Niro playing a very morally ambiguous individual, to say the least, just from what I've been reading about him. And just a fascinating story. So maybe I will go and watch it in the theatres, regardless of the ridiculous running time. But look, they are out. It is earning rave reviews. People have been discussing the film, as you can see here. Near perfect Rotten Tomato score. That was off 2 days ago. I actually read this yesterday. It was too late for me to do a show yesterday, once again. Perhaps I should put shows together a day in advance and then I can actually fucking do the show the day I'm supposed to be doing it, which is a Wednesday. So it's actually 2 days out of date as we sort of read this here. But yeah, is it a near perfect score? Well, I'm going to go in and look. It is pretty close to perfection, even 2 days on from that article. 95% via 185 reviews. As you can see, no audience reviews as of yet. That's a fantastic score. That's a high quality film. And of course, this is a film that really does twist the knife at a really contentious issue. I believe it's about Native Americans and just the handling of their land and the way that the CIA, I think, and maybe the FBI at that point, callously enabled the stealing of the land for resources and whatnot. I'm pretty damn sure that's what it's about. I may be wrong. As you can read there, enormous in runtime, theme and achievement. Killers of the Flower Moon is a sobering appraisal of America's relationship with indigenous peoples, and yet another artistic zenith for Martin Scorsese and his collaborators. So yeah, as it's exploring that relationship with the indigenous people, just right off the bat, looking at the images that I sort of troll through to create a thumbnail, not a great thumbnail by my sort of high standards, but still, it's there. And of course the poster, you can see that Leo's character is going to have a relationship with an indigenous woman. I think they have a kid, and it's also going to be really personal for him. It's going to really give this guy the opportunity to flex his acting muscles. And what I remember discussing this movie 2-3 years ago, and Leo in fact was involved in rewriting and doing some certain, maybe changing certain aspects of this movie to enrich his character's experience, to give him more meat in the bone, to act his arse off. So it's something that he was really inspired by. He's worked closely with Martin Scorsese, and we know when those two get together, magic's probably going to happen. It's just the way it is, really. So I'm not surprised 95% through 185 reviews is magnificent. That's a pretty high amount of reviews as well. I can't imagine that score changing too much. It will probably drop down maybe 1 or 2% if you've got some negative Nancy's in there. It may even go up. Let's not be negative ourselves. That's a phenomenal score. I'm really intrigued though. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this. Killers of the Flower Moon. You just bear with me. I'll go back. Cinema score. Bear with me. Probably nobody in here, and I'm saying bear with me. But I digress. It's kind of it's you know, when you're actually doing a live show, there's terror about sort of silence. It doesn't matter whether there's one person watching, 1,500 people watching, 0 people watching, me and my dog watching. You don't want any lengthy silent moments. It's unnerving. Is it a cinema score? Is that what we call it? Is that what we call it? Isn't it? This is what we call it. When they come out the theatre and they ask the audience what they think and they give it like an A+, an A-, an A. Seen it? It's a masterpiece in my eyes. Yeah, this is making me think I'm going to go into the theatres for 3.5 hours and watch this film, man. The more I'm seeing people speaking about it, I don't know if these individuals have actually seen the movie who are giving it an A. An A- would be underwhelming, I have to say. But as you can see there, what are your grade predictions? Let us know. Check out the official trailer, blah, blah, blah. So it's not out yet. That will come. That's usually a really, really good indicator of where a film is at. I mean, I respect the professionals' opinions on these matters, obviously the critiques, but when you've got the actual cinema score, you are canvassing ordinary individuals straight out of the theatre when they're usually buzzing at the best of times, even if it's a slightly average to above average experience, just the sheer buzz of coming out of watching a theatre film in a sort of big screen will maybe give a little boost to the score, so you know you can sort of walk off the cinema score just how good the movie really is. I'm expecting fucking something special though, but look, I will read a couple of these reviews. We've got a couple of rottens in there, including Anthony Lane of New York, and I'll get to Anthony. I'll not go through all of the sort of gushing, sycophantic reviews, maybe just the honest, positive reviews. I will do some of the Debbie Downers, like Tony Lane down there, sporting a fucking photograph straight from a mugshot in 1950s Midwest America. Guy could be in a sort of old school car with a shotgun in his lap, ready to massacre people left, right and centre. Do you not think he looks like that fucking geezer that Bruce Springsteen sung about in the song? Why am I blanking on the name of a song? I saw her standing in a front lawn, just a twirling her baton. I can't remember the name of the song, and it's annoying me because it's one of my favourite Bruce Springsteen songs. He was singing about those two fuckers that were on the run. I digress, I'm getting sidetracked here. I'll read Richard Whittaker, Austin Chronicle, the first top critique to give it a positive, a rated fresh rating, 3.5 out of 5. It's pretty fucking average, to be fair. That's not a phenomenal rating by any means, but let's read the man's words. Killers of the Flower Moon feels like the work of a filmmaker who's doing more than just ticking off boxes on a decades-old wish list. Well, we would hope so, Richard, because if you're ticking off boxes on a decades-old wish list, then it will become quickly apparent, much like, I don't know, Bobby De Niro in the late 2000s when he was doing Analyze This and things like that, and really just demeaning himself by working for the paycheck. You can tell when an actor is phoning it in. Likewise, if there is no creative juices left in a veteran director and he's producing something for the fucking sake of it to scratch an itch, it will become very obvious very quickly. So we must hope that he's put real passion into this and it's not just a box ticking exercise, you know. Danny Lee of Financial Times, 4 out of 5, much more positive score. Here in a movie of guilt and conscience, he springs an ending that is at once glitteringly audacious as anything in his career, and a mea culpa too. For now, uppercase cinema lives. Look, we've spoke about Martin Scorsese over the last few years and his withering takedown of modern cinema. He says it's dead. There's amusement park films are out there now. He's not got much love for the superhero films, and look, I'm going to get into that in my next topic. I think it's can't remember who it is that's actually speaking about it, but someone was actually delivering. I'll get to it in the next topic. It's been a bit of a day since I actually found these topics, and I've not went back to them. I've just dived right into it. I wasn't even meant to be doing this show for another 45 minutes, so I thought, fuck it, I'll get in and get this done right now because I've got free time. But he's talking about the sort of the trials and tribulations of superhero films. Should we take a break? But look, I digress, man. Martin Scorsese, not a huge fan of him. It's great to see that he is still able in his older years to grab the bull by the fucking horns and say, you know what, if no one else is going to do it outside of a Nolan or a Tarantino, then I might as well do it. And he's still making great films at that age. I'd doff my cap to him, even though I don't want to because I'm a slaphead. Moira MacDonald, and then we'll get into Tony Lane, the Debbie Downer. Scorsese, a half century after Mean Streets, holds it all together with meticulous control. The conductor of an all-star orchestra, revelling in the music he creates. I love the image you are conjuring up there, Moira. Again, these photographs, man. It looks like sort of promotional headshot for some obscure pop act in the 1990s, Bewitched or something. Fucking, I don't know. I'm trying to think of other pop. The Cause. It looks like a really crummy quality image from like 30 years ago of some up-and-coming teen or early 20s pop act. Moira MacDonald. Update the photographs, man. Come on. Either that or she's running about with a Instamatic camera. One of those hipster types who run about taking photographs and getting the instant sort of gratification. I don't know what that's about. Tony Lane, I'm going to call him Tony because I think it would annoy him, has had this to say. He's the first rated rotten, funnily enough. He said this: although its moral ambition is to honour the tribulations of an indigenous people, it keeps getting pulled back into the orbit, emotional, social, and eventually legal, of white men. Okay. Well, I mean, I think that's the whole point of the film, Anthony. It's about white men, non-indigenous people, coming to a foreign land and then over the course of the centuries that ensue, taking over the land and obviously encroaching on the indigenous people's rights and on their justice and on their sort of civil liberties. I think that's what it's about, mate. I think I've not watched the movie, so maybe Anthony Lane, top critique from New Yorker, is right and maybe I'm wrong. I think that's the whole point, mate. I think it's meant to go back to the sort of white man and the perverse nature of him and the impact he's had on people like the Native Americans. I think that's the whole point of the film, mate. I'm pretty damn sure Martin Scorsese is more cerebral in his ability to construct a film than you are in your ability to construct a review. So I'm going to side with Martin just now until I see the film, in which case I may reserve the right to roll back and side with you, Tony Lane. I'm not going to read Rafa Guzman. I'm going to move on to a couple of non-top critiques because I feel like I'm doing all of these top critiques. Manoa Tagus, maybe, because it's New York Times and I'll read that. For his telling, Scorsese has drawn on assorted genres. The movie is at once a romance, a western, a domestic drama, a whodunit, and finally a police procedural that effortlessly mix ebb and flow. That sounds great. I love multi-genre movies. That's why I'm a huge fan of, what did they call them again? The Indian films from the south of India. What did they call them again? It begins with an M, I think. They call it something. And it's meant to be a demeaning term. But it means it's like a sort of genre sprawling kind of movie where they'll dabble with 3-4 different things. And if it's handled and it's blended well, then they're the best kind of movies. Sometimes the best kind of movies are sort of human condition drama movie. It's a slasher horror. It's an action. All frills. No frills. All the bells, all the whistles. That's what I'll say. Sometimes it's a multi-genre story that's required. And if it's a 3.5 hour film like this is, you're not going to get away with just doing the same tone, the same genre for 3.5 fucking hours, man. You need to change it up. Have it be a bit of a cinematic melting point or pot, if I can get the right word out of my mouth. That's what keeps people's attention. That's what keeps them invested in the story. So look, That's not. She's not saying it's a negative. She's rated it fresh. She's saying it's very much a positive. It's a multi-genre, and I'm fucking right up that street. The SS Ben Hecht. That's a concerning name, mate. That's a concerning name for a fucking critical sort of publication. Ben Hecht. That sounds a bit German, and SS is conjuring up images of SS Gestapo. And you're wearing those little horn-rimmed glasses as well. I'm going to move on from Steven Silver. I mean, this is all my personal opinion. I'm not suggesting he's a fucking Nazi or anything like that. Sorry, Stephen. It's just that I don't like that name, mate. The SS Ben Hecht. I think it's based on like a ship. The SS Enterprise. I'm aware. I'm going to move on anyway. I don't like his little fat face. Nothing wrong with being fat. I have to stress. It's a choice. I'm fat just now, so I can say that. But look, Alison Rose, Flick Direct, had this to say. I'm going to go into a couple of Debbie Downers to end it, because I like to end in sort of downtrodden notes. This is what she had to say, man. I don't know who Flick Direct are, but I did say I was getting away from top critics, because sometimes they have an agenda, an ulterior motive, if you'd like. 4.5 out of 5. She's rated it very highly, Alison. She had this to say: if you settle in and don't give up after the first hour, what the fuck? How can you give up in a film you've spent money to go and see in a theatre, Alison? If you're there and you've made the commitment to be there, then you're kind of there for the long haul. Regardless, if you need to go and take a piss or something like that, then I suppose you can do it, but you're missing out on some goodness. I'll just sit there and probably wearing continence pants or something like that, sit for the 3.5 hours and watch the whole thing. Doesn't make any sense. It says, who walks out of theatres? It's something I've never seen in my life. Someone walk out of a theatre. I don't think I've ever seen that happen. Ever. Never. If you settle in, and I've been to see some shite films, believe me, if you settle in and don't give up after the first hour, Killers of the Flower Moon will be worth it in the end, as it is a brilliant piece of filmmaking. It's very not obscure, there's a word I'm looking for. It's very superficial in its sort of construct. That a little snippet from the review. I'm sure the full review gives us a lot more juicy, good sort of goodness details. It's a brilliant piece of filmmaking. It's Martin Scorsese, of course. It's a brilliant piece of filmmaking. For fuck's sake, you're stating the obvious. Rotten, though. Let's get to the 10 rotten people. And there's Tony Lane, and there's another one, CNN. Let me guess. There's a difference between long and epic, although in movie terms the two frequently get confused. Martin Scorsese delivers the former but not the latter with Kills of a Flower Moon. Okay, you want to maybe expand on that and give us a rationale behind why it's not epic? Are you just going to fucking tease us and get us to click the full review? Because I'm here to tell you, Brian Lowry, I'm not going to click the full review, mate. I ain't got time for that shit. And you're a Debbie Downer. I'm just here to sort of balance it out. Hector A. Gonzalez, the movie buff. The movie buff. While it does resemble his previous work, the film Killers of... What? While it does resemble his previous work? Okay. The film Killers of the Flower Moon can be compared with the most, for better or worse, yet mainly for the latter, is Heaven's Gate. Okay. Lee Patch of Australia, Herald Sun. Though DiCaprio and De Niro are the actors, most viewers will recognise their characters are not the protagonists who should be anchoring a tale as complex as this. Okay, dokie. I thought Jesse Plemons was actually the person who was going to be the sort of leading character in this. That's what they were kind of suggesting back in the day. And look who it is, man. It's everyone's favourite fucking film critic, Grace Randolph, the person who just loves to shit and everything. Shat in Oppenheimer, was moaning about there not being enough explosions and nukes going off. I mean, how fit can you fucking be? It's about the man, the myth, the legend that is Robert J. Oppenheimer. It's not about nukes. He was just the man who brainchilded or helped brainchild the nuclear bomb, the atomic bomb. That wasn't the actual core theme being explored in the film. It wasn't about nukes getting let off left, right and centre. It was about Oppenheimer. There's a clue in the title. Oppenheimer. So since she's come out with that shit, man, I've kind of lost respect for her in regards to her sort of reviews and things like that. But we'll read what she's had to say anyway. Less Goodfellas, more Gangs of New York. What's wrong with Gangs of New York? Gangs of New York was a fucking amazing film. It was epic. The fuck are you talking about? I'm going to search it up and find out what the Rotten Tomato score was for Gangs of New York, just to see. Fucking heaven. Martin Scorsese and co-writer Eric Roth assume the audience already knows so much about this true story. Well, it is based on an award-winning novel, I'm pretty sure, so... Or at least it's adapted off of a novel, and it's out there. If you want to read about it, then you can. There is almost no context, making the film a frustrating watch that offers more questions than answers. So you just want people to hold your fucking hand. Is that what it is, Grace? What age are you, man? Gangs of New York. Just to clarify, 73%, 7.5 out of 10. It's a fucking great film. I liked Gangs of New York. I'm slightly baffled by that. I mean, look at the cast. Fucking incredible. Daniel Day-Lewis, GOAT level actor. It was an incredible. I thought it was a great film. Was it one of his best films? No, it's not, but it was still a fucking incredible film. What was the other thing? I was going to search something else up. Yeah, it was actually Kills of a Flower Moon. Kills of a Flower Moon. I just want to have a quick look at the cast, because I was slightly blown away by the sheer depth, the denseness of the actual cast, and just how many great actors are actually in there. It's absolutely insane. It really is. It's actually mental how many incredible actors this guy's got now. I'm going further down, to be fair, which is going to take you into less than sort of, well, not stellar, but non-A-list actors, certainly. Martin Scorsese, he's not in there. I'm pretty sure he isn't. He's the director. DiCaprio, Lily Gladstone, Jesse Plemons, Robert De Niro, Brendan Fraser, Louis Cancelmi. What a name, what a look, what a video. John Lithgow. It's an incredible cast, really. You've got sort of core, more than a half dozen actors there that are just simply incredible. Randy Houser as well. If there's anybody going to get that cast singing from the same hymn sheet and sort of delivering excellence, it's going to be that man there, Martin Scorsese, who isn't on the screen at the moment, but he was momentarily. I'm going to get back to a wide shot. Oh, man. As I've said before, I had to headline the show with something. I was going to headline it with a question about superhero films, but I felt that was a bit shit, a bit meh, in all honesty. There's a headline topic anyway. So I thought, you know what? Kills of the Flower Moon. Been talking about this film for at least 2 years now. Really excited for it. It's always an event when Martin brings out a movie, and obviously you aid that with the inclusion of De Niro, DiCaprio. It just wets anticipatory juices, really, for the film coming out. It's now out in theatres just now, albeit in a limited release. It does widen over the course of the next couple of days. If you pardon me, I was about to burp, and I think I caught it just about. So I thought, you know what, I'll discuss this, but ultimately, man, as I do say all the time, whilst it's perhaps an indicator of the sort of creative goodness, the creative brilliance of the film, you always take these reviews from critics with a pinch of salt, because ultimately the top critics have usually got a bit of an ulterior motive. They've got little, I don't know, maybe issues with certain actors, directors that come to the fore at times when they're reviewing movies. What I'm trying to say is they're not, what's the word I'm looking for here? Fair arbitrators is what I'm going to come out with. Not all the time are they fair arbitrators. Sometimes they can have sort of biases. Certainly when you're talking about Grace Randolph. So you take it with a pinch of salt when they're saying something's incredible. You take it with a pinch of salt when they say something's really, really poor. Ultimately, the only opinion that really matters is your opinion. When you go and watch something, whether you enjoy it or hate it, it's all subjective. So I've sat here for fucking 20 odd minutes now discussing reviews and really amending it by saying it was all a waste of time, because ultimately the only opinion that actually matters is you, yourself, and I. Me, myself, and I. Irene. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not going to put too much fucking thought into the actual reviews and what they think about it. I'll go and watch the film if indeed I do. It's a very long film. It's a commitment. I think I will, though. And hopefully I fucking love it. I'm going to move on, though, to the next topic. It is incredibly fucking warm in this room. I cannot even tell you. It shouldn't be that warm, and I'm actually going to stretch over and put this fan on. I'm going to try and switch the fan on just to get a bit of fucking coolness in here, a bit of cool air flowing around the actual room, because my lord, I feel like I'm in a fucking sauna. But look, I digress, man. This is what I was going to originally headline the show with: do superhero movies need a little time off? Ultimately, I shat out of it because I felt there wasn't enough meat in the bones to actually sort of discuss this for like 15, 20 minutes. I didn't feel like it was a headline topic. And ultimately, I went with The Killers of the Flower Moon. And look, that's a nice, easy one because it's reviews. You can read through them, you can chat shit. Then at the end, like I just did, you can see it's all meaningless and it's your opinion that counts. This is a little bit harder to get into, but it's subjective again. Subjectivity around arts is something that's ever present. Opinions are like arseholes, as they do say. Everyone's got one, and mine's is no less or more valid than Matthew Vaughn, who's been coming out and actually suggesting that they may need a little bit of time off. And I'm going to get into it, and I've got several tabs opened with different superhero movies going back the last 10 years, the actual individual calendar years of superhero movies. I'm just going to look through them, and I'm going to look to see if there's any signs of drop-off in quality. Now, I know for a fact from Marvel in the last 2 or 3 years, there's been a very definite drop-off in quality in terms of the cinematic releases anyway. There has been some excellent ones in there. I've really enjoyed a couple, and I'll get into that. And realistically, I think this is a bit of a nul point, if you like, a null point. I think that's what that means. I'm not French. Because ultimately, you can say they need a little bit of time off, but realistically, these studios are not going to take a break. This is their sort of golden eggs. This is their ability to break $1 billion, even an average to decent superhero movie. If it resonates with the right people and it's got rewatchability, it's going to make close to $1 billion. And it's much easier to do that than it is to come up with a really wacky, original, independent idea like a Barbie. They come along once every fucking 10 years, if that, maybe 20 years. It's much, much easier to just keep churning out average superhero movies. So regardless of whether they do need a bit of time off or not, I absolutely do not believe we're anywhere near getting a break from superhero movies. But Matthew Vaughn's been out. This guy's no stranger to superhero movies. We were discussing him the other day. Kick-ass. He's been deep in that experience, and indeed, when you actually, I've got another article, potentially, I want to say the best superhero movies from each individual year going back, Lord knows, 20 odd years or something. One of his is actually in there, I'm sure. Kick-ass. So, yeah, this is what he had to say. He was talking to Screen Rant at the New York Comic Con, and he explained that what he believes is a problem with the superhero genre. He shared his hopes that someone would break the mould and make something great. However, he also believes that this genre has forgotten what may be the key to bringing back what has made superhero movies so popular in the last few years. I agree with what he's saying. Incidentally, I've discussed this time and again. You look at some of the best movies in the last decade, and what stands out is they're doing what he is suggesting in this sort of quote here. But he had this to say: I genuinely don't know what's happening with the superhero, in the sense that I do think maybe we all need a little bit of time off from it. Maybe someone will make something so great that we will get excited again and remind everybody that just having identical ways of making superhero films are films. It's a film that has superheroes in it. I think what happened was that they became superheroes and the film part wasn't that important. And I fundamentally agree with that. And he mentions a sort of dabbling with genres. I'm pretty sure he does anyway. I may have read that somewhere else. It may have been in this opinion piece. But just multi-genre exploration in superhero movies is something that's been so important. Over the last 10 years, I think of Logan, it's a gritty western. It just so happens to have a superhero in it. Trying to think of the other examples off the top of my head here now, and I've maybe bitten off more than I can chew, but there's been other examples I'm absolutely certain of it where you are exploring genres within genres. It's a superhero genre, but there is traditional, more horror style things being dabbled with, more sort of western, gritty human condition potentially with Joker. Is that a superhero film? He's a villain, I don't know. It's a comic book movie. They've been dabbling, and usually when you look at those movies, those are the highest rated, the best performing ones. Obviously the huge ensemble Avengers movies aside, they are their own thing. They exist in a different pocket universe. They do what they do brilliantly. I don't know why I brought this back to me incidentally, because I'm going fucking back here again. But yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with him. They've forgotten about the actual art of making a film. and just putting superheroes in there and hoping that there's enough interest in that side of things that it sort of papers over the cracks. And the best example for me is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It's just fucking rubbish. To me, it's rubbish. There's no real coherent story in there. You bring in this America Chavez, I think, character. She's just getting battered from pillar to post. It's meant to be a Doctor Strange movie, but it ultimately becomes a fucking Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch movie. She overpowers it, and ultimately she's so powerful that it's impossible to outdo her in that movie. It was a strange experience. It felt muddled, shambolic, and I think this is something that's been seen time and again with Marvel post Endgame. There's been a couple of outliers. No Way Home, Guardians of the Galaxy I really enjoyed, but Thor Love and Thunder just forgot to make a film. Before we'll bring in Christian Bale, Academy Award winning actor. We'll bring back all the things that worked. We'll bump the humour up to 200% in this one, and it surely will be a success. Well, it wasn't, because the movie wasn't compelling. The story was fucking rubbish, plain and simple. And then you sell it with Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're in the movie for about a half a minute. So they missold it as well, to add insult to injury. So I actually agree with Matthew Vaughn. They've forgotten how to actually make movies. And over and above that, with the Marvel side of things, the cinematic universe, they're trying to connect everything before they've earned the right to. They're doing what DC did in 2015, 2016. They're rushing it. Instead of getting back and doing what made them all the success and all the money back in the day in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, up to the Avengers movie, which was 12. Brilliant standalone movies that work in their own right with coherent stories, but then you'll tack something on in the end credits, the post-credits scene. They've forgotten about that. They'll try to connect everything. It's just manic. And it's not working, because the movies are flopping all over the place. They're not making money. Certainly not the money they were making even 3-4 years ago. And that's something I'm going to get into, man. You go into 2013, best movies, superhero movies of 2013. We've completely ignored Super Buddies and Sparks. I don't know what the fuck these movies are. Kick-Ass 2 was underwhelming. It wasn't Kick-Ass 1. But Man of Steel, I love Man of Steel. I think it's a great movie, one of the best Superman movies ever made. The Wolverine's fucking shite. This is maybe not the best year. This is maybe not the best example. This is maybe not the best example, because you've got Iron Man 3, which I didn't love, and you've got Thor the Dark World, which was arguably one of the worst Marvel movies ever made. G.I. Joe's in there as well. So this was a really bad year for superhero movies. Man of Steel aside, Kick-Ass 2 was watchable. It was fine. So we'll just completely ignore that. We'll go to a 9-year period. Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I don't know what that is. Oh, Days of Future Past. Oh, yeah. What, the Rogue Cut threw me off there. What is standing out here? Brilliant individual story from the Winter Soldier. Story of friendship and of trying to make amends, and just incredible action and just focusing on Steve Rogers. It's just a wonderful singular story. It stands out. Days of Future Past, again, for me, really enjoyed it. It wasn't first class levels, but I did really enjoy it. It was a good singular standalone movie. Guardians of the Galaxy, fucking one of the best experiences I've ever had in a theatre. Not laughed that much in a long time. Certainly at that point, going to see it. Amazing Spider-Man 2 was sort of alright. Even Edge of Tomorrow, I didn't realise that was a superhero movie. Apparently it is. I just thought that was an action movie. But there's an example, man, of doing it right. You've got 3 really interesting singular stories that work, but they just so happen to interconnect into a greater sort of universe. And they had success, but this is in the prime. This is in the middle of the Infinity Saga. Ant-Man, again, I loved Ant-Man. You've got Paul Rudd there, one of my all-time favourite comedic actors and just actors in general. We'll ignore Fantastic Four. Age of Ultron, I look back at that film with a little bit more fondness than I did at the time. At the time, I thought it was a car crash. It was sort of Avengers 1.5, I think they were calling it, wasn't it? Something like that, anyway. I think they were. I think it was 1.5. But you look back now, man, and it's certainly fucking streets ahead sort of some of the stuff we're getting now, and there's some funny moments in there. Was it underwhelming? Yes, at times it was, but still you had fucking Ultron in there, you had the buff of Vision. there was some epic moments in that movie. Little callbacks as well with the hammer, Mjolnir. Obviously ties into what we see in Endgame at the end with Steve Rogers. I knew it. Of course, Thor says that just in case people are like, what the fuck are you talking about? I knew it. Again, for DC, we can maybe just scrub DC. I mean, I like the director's cut of Dawn of Justice. I think it's a more than watchable film. And I know Stevens maybe watched things like this. He was going down a rabbit hole with these animated things and he loves them. He swears blind by them. That's even a saying. But Suicide Squad, I mean, shit. Really, really, really poor movie. Deadpool more than makes up for it though. Fucking incredible film. Wade Wilson, Melt with a Mouth, Ryan Reynolds. Singular, brilliant story. Again, confirming what Matthew says. You need a singular, enjoyable film first. And it just so happens that it actually has a superhero character at the centre of it. That is not the defining feature. It's the actual film that this superhero character is marinating in, resides in, if you like. Apocalypse, still not seen it, man. Not going to lie. One with Oscar Isaac. I just didn't get round to watching the movie. Civil War, one of my all-time favourite fucking Marvel movies. Absolutely stunning film. The sort of end point, the bookend of the Captain America trilogy, which for me is still the strongest trilogy. I mean, you could say Tom Holland's Spider-Man, kind of, the John Watts Spider-Man trilogy, maybe rivals it, but for me, Captain America, the trilogy, unbelievable. But again, singular storytelling. You can watch these films individually, man, and they just work. This is a big ensemble fucking movie. It's almost like an Avengers movie, but at the heart of it, there is a compelling, coherent story. It's about Steve Rogers. It's about James Buchanan, Bucky Barnes. Is that right, James Buchanan? Have I just fucked that up? I don't know. Bucky anyway, not Bucky Barnes. I don't know where I get Barnes from. It's James Buchanan, isn't it? I'm going to search it up because I think I've just made an ass of it. Bucky. Is it Bucky Barnes? It is Bucky Barnes. James Buchanan, Bucky Barnes. I should never doubt myself. Him and Tony Stark, that trifect and how they've impacted on each other, friendship, it's got it all, man. And it just so happens to be a superhero film, man. That is not, I mean, it is the defining thing. This was when Marvel were at their absolute fucking Halcyon point, where everything they were putting out nearly was gold. But for me, it goes back to what Matthew Vaughn says. It's got an interesting, compelling story. And it just so happens to have superheroes in there. It would work without the superheroes. If you had that story about betrayal, about friendship falling apart in front of you, and about the sort of aftermath, that would work without the superhero thing tacked on. Again, 2017. I like Homecoming, man. It's an alright film, but I mean, yeah, it's an alright film. That's, I mean, I don't know if the actual coherent story and making a great... I mean, it does. It's a film. It's a great film, man. They've made a great film, first and foremost. It's got Spider-Man in it. Didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Ragnarok's another prime example. You bring in Taika Waititi. It's an incredibly thought-out film. It's completely different. It's a fresh lick of paint for the character. It just so happens to have Thor in it. It's a great film, first and foremost, and it's superhero, secondly. Logan is the absolute fucking poster boy for this. You've made an unbelievable film. This could have been made by Martin Scorsese. It could have been made by Stanley Kubrick. Any great director of a bygone era could have made that film, and it doesn't have a guy with fucking claws coming out of his knuckles. It could be a singular sort of human condition story, really drama, Oscar baiting story, and it would be every bit as fucking amazing. It just so happens to have Wolverine in there. So I'm not going to continue going through this. Needless to say, it's going to take forever because I'm fucking reviewing these films every time I talk about them, but I think we have lost our way a bit. I mean, there's still outliers in there, as I did say. No Way Home. I love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I still don't think it's as good as the first film, but really, really good. I loved Wakanda Forever. But that was a poignant, fitting tribute to the late Chadwick Boseman. The Batman is an example. I thought Matt Reeves done an unbelievable job. There's a real great story there. There's a solid foundation moving forward for the Pattinson Batman. That's an example of doing it right. This is an example of doing it wrong. Really fucking wrong. So, I mean, I suppose even this year, I mean, Barbie's not a superhero film. What the fuck are they talking about? That's not a superhero film either. And Across the Spider-Verse, fucking amazing. Loved it, man. Really, really loved it. There was worries about the cliffhanger ending. I fucking loved it. It's got me pumped to go and see the finale in this trilogy. I presume it's a trilogy. There's still outliers in there, man. There's still great movies getting made, and ultimately it boils down to this. If you've got a coherent, brilliant story to tell, then there's no need to take a break. If you have got the right people behind the scenes making the decisions, and Lord knows they used to have that at Disney, they've still got it with Kevin Feige. I don't know what the fuck's going on at the executive level. They had Bob Chapek for a long time, and he obviously was slapped down and moved out the room, sort of exit stage left. I don't know what the fucking saying is. I always bury myself in holes by trying to come up with sayings that I inevitably butcher, because I am terrible with sayings. He was scurried out the door like a rat, and obviously Bob Iger came back. He's now more competent, I think, and hopefully he will steady that ship and allow Kevin Feige to sort of do his magic again, if indeed he needs it. I mean, I trust Kevin to get it right in the next 5 years. I really do. I think he will steady that ship. It won't be as good as Infinity Saga because we don't have Steve Rogers, Tony Stark. We don't have a villain. I mean, Jonathan Majors, touch wood. Hopefully, I mean, I'm doing that because that's what you do. I have no wood around me. Superstitious bollocks. I don't know what that even means. What does the whole touch wood thing? Or what is that? This is another thing, isn't it? With humans, where we come up with these stupid fucking things. Touch wood. What? Why? Why do we do that? But yeah, I mean, hopefully he'll be able to continue playing the character of Kang. Hopefully we'll get an incredible performance leading into those sort of Avengers movies in the next couple of years. But is he going to top Josh Brolin? His Thanos? I highly doubt it. Is there enough big personalities and interesting stories to be told in the lead up to that Avengers story where it's going to actually topple what we got leading into Infinity Saga and Infinity War and Endgame? I doubt it. I do trust them to right the ship though, and I think we will get some better quality movies coming out. And I think moving forward, their strategy will be different. Do they need time off? Probably some of them do. Maybe we don't have to be releasing as many movies as we're actually releasing just now. Is it going to happen though? Probably not. Because these studios are making, they've got money to fucking make. And they've already greenlit multiple phases, so they probably do need a little time off to recapture the creative juices. But again, I'm going to sort of play devil's advocate and say that Kevin Feige can produce that fucking magic. He can project manage and bring the right people in who will actually turn things around quickly. And James Gunn on the other side, I've got extreme confidence in him to do something special at DC. And Matt Reeves as well. With his Batman story, I think he's already got the creative juices. He's already producing coherent films that just so happen to feature a superhero movie or a superhero. And then you're getting into the whole fucking thing, is Batman a superhero? That's for another day. I don't think he is. He's just a hero. He might wear a cape at times, but he ain't no God-given. He's got no God-given ability. The man is just a millionaire with his hands on some of the best technology on the planet. In that universe, he's not a superhero, he's a human. That's what makes him compelling. I digress. Fuck knows is the answer. In conclusion, do they need time off? Lord knows. Maybe, but they'll not get time off regardless. I'm moving on to the next topic, man. Jesus Christ. Sopranos star slams Top Gun Maverick. This is fucking mental. This is fucking batshit crazy, this topic, man. I read it and I'm like, what? To the point where I brought up Matthew Perry and his memoirs that he released in book form where he was criticising Keanu Reeves, because that was the best sort of analogy that I could come up with in my mind about what Robert Iller, I think his name is doing, and this sort of rant about Tom Cruise and Top Gun Maverick. It's just utterly insane, bizarre, mental to me. I'll get into it. As you can see here, we'll go up at the top. Go up at the top and just do it right, like eating fucking McDonald's. Sopranos star slams Top Gun Maverick, says it ruined movies. He had this to say. He spoke with, I think it was YMH Clips. It was posted a segment from one of their podcasts where Illa, I think that's how you say his name, Illa, expresses his dislike for, I've never seen The Sopranos, so I couldn't tell you, for Top Gun Maverick's box office success. I mean, it's such a strange one to criticise this film because there has been so many utterly shite films released in the last 2-3 years during the pandemic, post-pandemic. So to go after this one is really fucking weird to me. I really enjoyed Top Gun Maverick. Thought it was a great film. Really uplifting, enjoyable story. Lots of stunning action. Just connecting the previous movie really well. And the music was great too. It was just like a little zeitgeist moment for Tom Cruise and just the people behind the film. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fucking brilliant film. I thought it deserved its Oscar nomination. And it really shut the trend you usually see where sequels end up being worse than the actual original movie. I think this is better than the original movie. I've really enjoyed it. So it's a strange one, but I'll read what he had to say. It really does go off in quite the rant about Top Gun Maverick. Hyperbolic nonsense, I say. I think Top Gun ruined the whole movie industry. Really? I think fucking injecting politics into every single artistic project is ruining movies and ruining multiple industries in general. Just keep them out of it. And we're having this debate just now about the whole Palestine thing in football, and I'm conflicted with it because the club I support were founded on a political sort of mandate. They were there to feed the poor, and it was almost like a political weapon, the club that I support, Celtic. But then there's the whole thing about tone and how you're dealing with and bringing politics into that sphere in sports. Is it the right environment for it? And it's the same with film. Do people really want to have an hour, 2 hours of entertainment sullied by you bringing in all of the fucking modern day bollocks and politics and ills of the world into that sort of safe haven? I don't think they do, man. I think you just want to go there to be entertained. So just stop doing it. I think that's ruining the movie industry, to be quite frank. And look, I'm quite liberal when it comes to my political views. I'm a left-wing, borderline socialist liberal. So I'm one of the people who should be fucking jumping about, doing star jumps with whatever the fuck those cheerleader things are. But I'm not. Keep it out of film. I digress. He goes on to say this. I think it ruined everything. It'll save the industry for 4 or 5 years because people are like, oh, this is it. It's like eating fucking McDonald's or eating fucking trash food, and then all of a sudden people are going to turn around in 4 years and go, why do I feel bad? Because you just watched garbage fucking movies. He likes to swear, man. He likes to swear more than I do, which is quite impressive. Just like a fucking McDonald's thing makes you feel good for 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden you're going, oh, wait a minute. 90 Day Fiancé is fucking great because nobody is putting 90 Day Fiancé up for a fucking Oscar. You go, hey, do you want to watch a shit TV show? Watch 90 Day Fiancé. We know what it is. I'm mad that people told me it was a good movie, that it get nominated for an Oscar, and then I put it on expecting a fucking Oscar-worthy movie, and it was guys walking in just like, hey, fucking zinger, what are you on my six for? And he's like, hey, bro, if you told me and you to sit in a fucking room and write Top Gun 2, there was nothing original about that movie. I disagree with it. I think it was actually quite clever in its construct. I liked what they did. I thought it was quite smart, and the way they were connecting the sort of his friend and the son and try to bring him on, and he was almost like a mentor figure. I thought it was a really interesting way to structure a sequel. I thought it was quite smart. Maybe he could have done a better job though. Maybe we should get this guy in to write more films for Hollywood. Maybe he can solve the superhero problem I was just talking about. Maybe this guy is the sort of messiah-like figure who's going to come in and save the industry. Christopher Nolan can't do it apparently, neither can Martin Scorsese. Maybe it's this guy who can come in and save the industry. He's been here all along and we've just been missing him. Where was I? There's nothing that you go, oh wow, that, and I didn't see that coming. That was interesting. Was there anything interesting about the whole movie? Yeah, the action was incredible. The relationships at points were very, very well done. The music was great. It was a really just borderline earworm inducing movie, just from a purely audio standpoint. And it lived in the memory. I've watched the film a couple of times now, and it's got great rewatchability. So I think there was a lot of things interesting about the film. But what is it? It's like I said previously, it's all subjective. Ultimately, it's all subjective. One man's trash is another man's treasure. And you can't expect everyone to love the same thing. It'd be a very boring world if we were all into the same things. This is my point. He goes on to say, 5 years from now, people are going to go, oh my God, we said this should be the fucking best movie ever because we were fucking coming out of COVID in a fog. No one ever says it was the best movie ever, mate. I don't think anyone was ever championing this to win a best Oscar. I think there was a lot of people getting their panties in a twist about it getting nominated for an Oscar, which I think was absolutely fine because it was one of the best movies of the calendar year. And that's kind of the whole point of Best Picture. You nominate the best pictures of the calendar year. But yeah, I don't think anyone thought it was the best movie ever. That's just hyperbolic drivel. I don't know what COVID's got to do with it in a fog. It's fine if the movie makes you happy, but then to say Oscar, best movie, putting it in a category like The Godfather, no one's putting it in a category like The Godfather. This guy is fucking crazy. I says it, man. Batshit crazy. This geezer is ranting about nonsense. It ruined the entire movie industry. It didn't. That's it. I don't want to watch movies anymore. Top Gun made me hate movies. Garbage. Absolute fucking garbage. Now look, man, I understand. Jokes aside here. The context could be lost. This is a podcast and it's been put into actual written form and we're losing the nuance. We're losing the way he's vocalising things. He could be joking here. This could be a joke, man. I don't know this guy. He may be a really funny fucking guy. I hope he is joking because it is just hyperbolic bullshit. It wasn't fucking garbage. It's not ruined the movie industry. There's a lot of things ruining the movie industry right now. A chronic lack of innovation, an inability to create fucking interesting films on a core level, independent films outside of A24. Is anyone doing it? I'd argue they're not. Is outside of A24 Christopher Nolan and Tarantino, who's about to retire? I'd definitely argue not. So I hope it's a joke, man. But as I did say, this is what I likened it to. I likened it to Matthew Perry. Just gunning for Keanu Reeves in his memoirs. I think this was from a year ago. It was the first thing that came into my head. I'm like, this is just so fucking crazy what I'm reading here. It makes no sense. And you're picking on a really strange target. And the first thing it conjured up, as I say, is Matthew Perry, Keanu Reeves. When he says, and I quote, I'm going to find it, talking about River Phoenix, who was friends with Keanu Reeves, by the way. I searched him up. I think River worked with Matthew on a movie. By no means do I think he was in his friends group. Keanu Reeves was an actual friend of River Phoenix. You look at the images, just a 2-minute search, and he's in about 50 different images with River Phoenix. They're young, they're up and coming, they're partying, they're fucking inseparable. He's hugging him at one point in an image. So they're very close friends by the looks of it. So it's a really strange target for the get-go. But he went on to say this, and this is my analogy to what this guy just says. It's just out of order and fucking manic. River was a beautiful man, inside and out. Too beautiful for this world, it turned out. It always seems to be the really talented guys who go down. Why is it that the original fingers like River Phoenix and Heath Ledger die, but Keanu Reeves still walks among us? It's mental. When I read that back in the day, I was like, what the fuck is going on, Matthew? What are you doing? Why are you attacking Keanu Reeves? He's one of the nicest guys on the planet. A humble, down-to-earth, brilliant guy. No one's saying he's River Phoenix level of acting. He wouldn't even admit that. He doesn't think that. He's a very solid action actor. But he's a cool guy, man. And really strange to attack him in that way. And in my mind, it's the same thing with Top Gun Maverick, to put all of the ills of the movie industry in 2023 onto the shoulders or in a target with Top Gun Maverick on it and be fucking just plastering it with an AK-47 like it's his fault. It's just a really strange target, really strange rant, and ultimately hyperbolic nonsense. So I hope he was joking. I hope it wasn't serious. But if it was, then my fucking God, man, we've got more problems. He's got more problems than I can answer for. He needs a therapist. But look, man, I was going to end in this, but I think I'm just going to end the show just now. It's late as fuck. Time's getting on. And I've not even got a topic for it. What the fuck? Can we just check that out here? It's not even that late, incidentally. It's not even 10 o'clock. I'm usually doing a show at this point. Just want to double check something here. Why have I not got a topic bar? Can we just change that? Just going to problem solve on the go here. Why is Bob Iger? Why I've not even... Did I not do a topic bar for this? This is fucking crazy. Right, we're getting a completely different font now, and it's... I don't even know what that says. We'll just bring that back. We'll take the topic bar off. You know, I'll speak about it briefly. Fuck it. It's about Five Nights at Freddy's. And we've had a so-called MCU writer out, and he's been discussing the potential of a franchise. And he doesn't think, and I quote, Hollywood quite understands what they have at their disposal here with a Five Nights at Freddy's box off franchise film. And as you can see here, I don't even know who the hell the guy is. I just picked it up, man. I like to look at the headline. I thought, I can speak about this. I've not actually played this game, but I've seen people playing it enough that I actually know what it's about. It's a sort of, what I say, it's like a toy factory. There's a security guard or something starts in the factory. He's left overnight on his lonesome. He's in the control room. You've got a series of screens, CCTV screens, and he has to keep watch over this factory. And quickly things start moving. The toys are alive. And they start encroaching upon his space, and he has to shut doors off and try and survive the night. Ultimately, you end up getting fucking killed all the time because it's impossible to fend them off at the end. It's a really interesting horror video game. People love it. It's jump scares galore. As I said, not played it. I've not got the balls to play it myself because it just gives me the absolute heebie-jeebies. But yeah, I knew they were making this film. I don't know how far along into production it actually is. But it's got great potential, man. And look, we've seen some video game movies getting adapted over the last few years or so, and they've been better than what we'd grown accustomed to seeing in the 90s with Mortal Kombat and other movies. Obviously, Mortal Kombat got rebooted. It was a far better experience a couple of years ago. Off the top of my head, Uncharted, not a good example, was shit. The Tomb Raider movies with Angelina Jolie and obviously the Swedish actress, who I'm blanking on. I mean, they were fine. They were watchable. They're certainly not the worst. Obviously, the Assassin's Creed one, again, not a good example. Rampage, not a good example. But we've had some interesting signs that maybe, just maybe, they can do it right. If they've got the right source material, they can make a successful adaptation of a video game movie. Sonic the Hedgehog's a perfect example. Pokemon Detective Pikachu, another perfect example. Really interesting video game adaptations that have been hugely successful, and it's because they are paying tribute to the character, but they're also doing a unique sort of story within the film. They're not chained like a fucking anchor at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean to the source material that came in video game form, because in video game form, that's what I was about to say. Sounded wrong when it came off my tongue. It's what I'm saying, it's a fine balance. When you're adapting video games for film, you have to pay tribute to what came before, but you can't be suffocated by the stories that have came. You can't feel like there's no room for innovation for an original concept. You have to create your own living, breathing story within the confines, within the sandbox of that video game universe. That's a long-winded, fucking waffled journey I've went on there to try and explain where I'm at with video game movies. And the reason I'm saying it is because this is a really simplistic concept. Five Nights at Freddy's, it's a security guard in a factory at night on his lonesome with these killer toys. That's a lovely sandbox. That's a foundation on which you can really build excuse me, a fucking budding horror franchise, man. There's so much prospect in there, and I fully do. I agree with your man here. I think it's Zach Stenson, C. Robert Karkoff. Heard of these geezers, actually. I agree with what he's saying. He said this, I think it's on Twitter. There is a lot of potential here. This isn't an Uncharted. This isn't... Obviously, The Last of Us is another example on HBO where it can really be done fucking well. And they probably are chained shot by shot to the actual video game story, but the video game story is of Oscar calibre in terms of the writing. Or Emmy calibre, because it's a movie, a TV show. Pardon me again. I need to take a drink because my throat is just dying here. A fucking throat infection. It just refuses to leave my body. It's just great. It's everywhere. Everyone's got it. It's not COVID. I don't know what it is, man. Maybe it's the next pandemic and we're already getting destroyed by it just now. Lord knows. But everything's fine and dandy. It's all good. There's great potential with this. There really is, man. In the horror genre in particular, I love the fact it's Blumhouse who are taking over it. It has got a relatively, pardon me, has got a relatively small budget, 25 million or something, $30 million. That gives them plenty of headroom to then make a profit on the movie. They don't have to be earning $400-500 million at the box office to make money back. And this is what Blumhouse have done so well over the last 10 years or so, making really compelling horror stories on relatively shoestring budgets. And then they're not backing themselves into a corner. They don't have to make fantastical sums of money like Disney, like Warner Bros., like these other studios to have a huge profit and a success in their hands. They just seem to know the blueprint required to make a successful movie on a low budget, and then they can turn it into a franchise. We've seen it with The Invisible Man. We're going to have a franchise. We've seen it before with Blumhouse. They know what they're doing. So I'm happy it's Blumhouse that are taking over. They are the perfect studio for this. But Robert Cargill, this is what he had to say. Studios have no idea how many books and games there are. I didn't know there was books myself. Bloom can make these for years without needing to reboot, refresh, or come up with new material. He goes on to say, I think he goes on to say, maybe he doesn't. That's it. They've no idea. Yeah. They haven't, man. Look, there is huge potential here. Huge potential for a franchise with Five Nights at Freddy's. And it's horror, man. And it's slasher, potentially. And it's just fucking siege horror. And that's my favourite kind of horror film. I've seen so many great ones over the years. The one that always comes to mind for me is Green Room with the late, great Anton Yelchin. Some would argue he wasn't that great. He was only in his mid-20s, but he was a great actor. And he had so much potential to go on and do something truly wonderful with his career. He was already in some brilliant movies. Patrick Stewart was in there as well. Brilliant siege horror movie. And slasher movie at that. They're my favourite kind of horror movies. You take that concept, you put in these killer sort of fucking teddy bear things in a dark atmospheric building. Right off the bat, man, you've got a set that can be done on the cheap. You can rent out a fucking warehouse and turn it into this place, and it's relatively cheap. You don't have to use big, bombastic visuals, CGI. It will be gritty, it will be visceral, it will be practical. There is so much potential for this film. I hope it's hugely successful, man. When's this film coming out, man? Is it coming out shortly? I'm really fucking looking forward to it. I actually really want to see how this is going to pop. I'm actually going to search this up just now. When is this? Is this due out within the foreseeable? It's literally 6 days away. Holy fucking shit. And it's only an hour and 49 minutes long. So it's perfect. It's under 2 hours. It's a 15, man. How long has it been since we've had something above rated R? Fuck me. This has got so much potential, man. So much potential. Who's the director? I'm just going to go off in an absolute tangent fest here and see. Don't know much of her films, to be fair. There is so much potential in this film. I really hope it's successful. Is there Rotten Tomatoes stuff happening with this? Have we got anything on this film at all? It's so close to release. Nothing. I'm buzzing for this, man. And he's absolutely right. Absolutely fucking right, man. There is huge potential for a franchise. I'm done though. I'm going to take my dog out for a walk again. Well, I'm probably not actually. It'll be a couple of hours. I'll give him a break. I'll give myself a break first and foremost. He did get a walk. No, I'm going to take him out. I'm talking shite. I'll take him out. But I digress. What's your thoughts on the topics I touched upon? I'm losing my mind here. I'm sweating like an absolute rapist on speed. It's so warm in this room. I don't know if it's the infection I've got or whether it's the actual heat in the room. Share your thoughts down below on the topics I've touched upon. What do you make about the Killers of the Flower Moon? The early reviews praising it to the hilt. Some Debbie Downers in there, not liking the length. Some not liking the story. What's your thoughts on it? Share your thoughts down below about the movie. Share your thoughts down below about superhero movies. Do they need a break? What is your thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's being a thing? And what do you make about that random guy from Sopranos absolutely destroying Top Gun Maverick. Anything you feel compelled to share can be put down below in the comment section. It's a place to put your thoughts. Like the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notifications straight to your eyeballs. All that's left to be said, no, forgot about Twitch. Follow button, notifications button over on Twitch as well. Like and follow on Spotify podcasts too while you're at it. All it is left to be said, I can do it now, is that until the next time, I am done. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.